Hi there, it's Fiona here. Fiona the Body Whisperer, Fiona the Body New Renewer. I'm bringing you day 3 of the little insight into how we can weather the storms and how we can weather the winter blues. And again, I don't really only mean that it's the winter blues and it's the winter storms, because obviously in certain parts of the country and the world, it's not like that at all. What I'm talking about here is how you can find your sense of self, so that you know how you feel in any given moment, so that you can bring yourself back to who you are and how you want to feel in any given moment. That's how you weather the storms. So that analogy of weathering the storms means that whatever's going on the outside, however sad other people are, however stormy and terrible things seem to be at work or problems, you're able to find your sense of self. And the reason I bring this up is because the work that I've been doing with clients to do with their digestion, it's a huge influence on how their bodies digest the food, but it also is a huge has a huge influence on the amount of stress that you carry in your body, and therefore the amount of hormones, and therefore the amount of adrenaline, and everything that actually lays down fat on the body and makes the body sluggish and needs to protect itself. So if anybody knows about the metaphysical reasons why we put on weight, one of the main reasons is that the body is trying to protect itself. Now, I've talked about this before, and the body does try and protect itself. So what I'm saying here is, when we try and weather the storms and understand the winter blues, we're finding our own self. We're finding ourselves deep inside and what matters to us most and what we feel about the situation. For example, if you know what makes you stressed, if you know what triggers you, even if you're not allowing it to trigger you on the outside, you can be really calm. Yes, Mum, I'll do that for you. Yes, boss. Yes, I'll get that done. I'll work late. I'll stay late. Yes, partner. Yes, of course, I'll make dinner again. Yes, of course, I'll give up my evening. Yes, of course, I'll pick up the kids. Yes, even, oh, I feel that in my belly when I say that. Even when you're saying yes, maybe there's an inside resentment, there's an emotion, there's giving yourself away, there's being discounted, being rejected, feeling unworthy. All these feelings that go on inside the body in your undercurrent are going to have a huge effect on how your body needs to know whether you need extra protection or not. If you're able to say, yeah, of course I'll work late, that's not a problem. I wasn't doing anything anyway. I'm happy to work late. I really, really love this subject. And you don't have any expectation and you don't have any judgment on what's going on in your body. You have no opinion. There's no hidden agenda underneath that. You're going to float through much easier than if you're upset about really having to do that for an ulterior motive. Oh, well, if I don't do that, I'll lose my job. Or if you're trying to sort of weave your way through your family or create a new family, or all those kind of things. When somebody wants something from you and you're saying yes, you're giving yourself away. That's just one of a myriad of ways that I'm experiencing people having an undercurrent that they don't necessarily know about. So when I talk about clearing the emotions, which is what I talked about on Tuesday, day 1, lifting off the emotions, it's those kind of stories, it's those kind of things that are playing a pattern in your undercurrent that are making your body need to protect you. When you are able to find out who you are in amongst all of that and tune back into that, tap in back into that, and kind of go, what do I feel about that? Do you know what? I don't want to work late. Do you know what? I find no value in working late. No, I don't want to pick up the kids again. No, I'm not going to do that. When you find value in yourself and you're able to sort of express that and you're able to sort of put that forward, your body goes, oh my God, you're trusting yourself. I don't need to protect you anymore. You've stepped up to the woman that you are meant to be. The woman that you're working towards in the next phase of your life, that you hold a dream of being. She is coming forwards. She's you're being a sense of her, you're creating her. So you found your sense of self. Most of the women that I speak to, I absolutely adore them when they actually get that. And when they're able to kind of go, oh, I didn't even know I was doing that. I didn't even know that it was possible for me to say that in a different way. I didn't understand the perception. I didn't understand how else I could possibly deal with that situation. So, hallelujah. And wow, the digestion, maybe the constipation or the runs or the irritable bowel or something that's been really, really affecting you for a very, very long time, it vanishes. It vanishes. I talked a lot about how the body releases on Tuesday, and all the physical symptoms that you get when you know that your body is actually releasing. And this is what I call the emotional detox. So I wanted today to just help you understand what it feels like. So at some point I'll go through a test with you so that you know what it feels like inside your body, even though you say, yeah, it's fine, because you're so used to the stress, because you're so used to giving yourself away. You don't necessarily know what that feels like in your guts. I deal with people to do with emotional upsets, traumas, hurts, so physical abuse or mental abuse, or made to feel really, really, really small. Often we're made to feel really, really, really small because in some ways people know that we're actually able to be much more powerful. And if we were being powerful, then they would feel really small. So it's easier to bully us and make us feel small and then allow themselves to feel small. Does that make sense for you? But a lot of what your body's telling you when you connect into your body, you understand how powerful you are and how gently you can go through that, and you can stand firm and you become this different person. You find your true sense and you stand up as her. When I work with people, you find that you are able to sort of pull yourself up from the roots up, and you stand taller. And you're able to express yourself, and maybe you start with your children. You may be able to say, no, from here and no further. I'll do this for you, but I won't do that for you. I'll hold your hand, I'll be there for you, but I'm not going to do it for you. There are lots of different ways of dealing with situations. I know a lot of my clients also, they have a lot of barrage from family members and emotional upsets that they hold on to because they don't feel they can express them. They don't feel they can take it any further because of the repercussions. It's a family member, well, maybe I should. There's a lot of things that go on, a lot of mental torture that goes on. So if you can keep your head, or if you can keep your feeling of how you want to feel when all about you are losing theirs, there's rows breaking out, there's family disputes going on, there's trouble at the mill, there's trouble at work, there's redundancies, there's all sorts of things. If you're able to have your sense of self, to know what suits you best, to know what feels easier for you, what's more comfortable for you, that's the way that you're going to help your body to reconstruct itself on a very positive basis. That's when you're one of the women winning. You're one of the women winning with weight. And I don't mean just the physical weight. I mean the weight of the world that you're carrying and how you're looking after everybody else. Women are in a very unique place in our history at the moment. If you listen to a lot of people talking about this, they're talking about the sense of the feminine, the sort of against the masculine energy. I get that. I get that, you know, the work and our society or our education, the banks, the way society's built up is very sort of masculine energy. It's very forcing energy. It's like, we must do this. We must do it this way. We must. And so we've had to adapt ourselves in this particular generation to work like that. But the reason that a lot of people who are now breaking out and doing healing work and recovery work is because we just feel that that's just not the way forward. And unless you can feel your true sense of yourself while you're going through all of that, you're just going to keep being broken down and broken down and broken down. And it's utterly fantastic when you're able to get your real sense of self, of how powerful you can be, of what kind of woman you want to be in the next phase of your life. So I talk about weight as a metaphor, the weight of what you're carrying, but the weight of what you're carrying on your body. And your body's showing you what you're carrying around on the inside, what you are tolerating, for example. There's a very nice little saying that came up that I saw on Facebook the other day, and it was copied again on Instagram, and it came via pictures of Angelina Jolie. And it basically says, figure out who you are, separate from your family or from the woman and the man that you're in a relationship with, and find out who you are in this world. What you need to feel good on your own, to be alone. What you need to feel good on your own. I think that's one of the most important things in life. To find your sense of self, and when you do, you can do anything. Most of the women that I coach who have got issues with stress and their bodies and physical symptoms, when they find their sense of self, they are renewed. They are really in a completely different place to stand up for themselves and start manifesting things in their life and start creating things in their life that matter to them, that really feel very powerful for them. Stress in your life is a choice. This took me ages to understand, but stress in your life is actually a choice. So you can choose to be stressed by something, or you can choose like, okay, this is the phase of the life that I'm in at the moment. I'm having to deal with this. I'm going to deal with it the best way I possibly can, because if I don't deal with it in the best way I possibly can, it's going to have a negative effect on my body. I'm going to get physical symptoms. I'm going to gain weight. It's just going to be heavy and nasty and horrible, and I don't want any of that to happen to me. So we're going to be affected by it, by what's going on the inside, how we carry it in our undercurrent, if we're resentful towards it, if we get stressed about it. I just went on my group and I told a funny story this morning about, I'd just driven all the way to the post office, think, right, okay, great, I've got time. Funny, I look at my hand, but I haven't had a watch on there for like 20 years. It's such a habit, isn't it? And it's body language as to how you say, I'm looking at the time. So I raced to the post office and I thought, okay, fine, I'm going to go to the post office. I'm going to post off these 4 home detox boxes that somebody's ordered that they want to do with their family and things before or just after Christmas. Home detox box is one of the things that I've been doing for years. It's for people who want to have a period of time, have a holiday at home, and take things really, really simply, and not only mentally, but they do the physical detox as well. Anyway, I got there and the post office was shut. I was like, oh no, the post office is shut. How can it be shut? And I remembered standing in that very same post office 4 years ago, and doing the stress test is something that I'm going to show you now. And I realised I was at a stress phase 9, and it was a sunny day in France in a village post office, no fear, nothing else, but I was carrying around with me like stage 9 stress, and that was having a huge physical effect on my body, even though I was standing in line, you know, very quiet. And today, because I went to the post office again, I was very interested to see my reaction. I was like, oh God, no, it's shut. Oh, I won't be able to get this in the post this morning. And then I was, oh, right, okay, so it's my choice. Okay, this afternoon then I'm going to either have to drive all the way to that village or all the way to that village to get these in the post for this lady. That's a choice. Stress is a choice. And I can take it like, yeah, I'm going to go in my car and I can have a nice trip in my car. Or, oh my God, I can't believe I've got to go in the car. That's the kind of energy that I used to hold in my stomach. And I could feel it in my stomach. I was just like, oh, my whole insides would just sort of curl up, and I would be so angry and resentful that I'd wasted this time. That was one of the things that used to go on in my head a lot. Waste of time. What a waste of time. I could be doing something else. Though at the time I didn't really know what else I could have done with my time, even if I'd had a whole few days to sort of look after myself and do something great. So those are the emotions that get carried around in the body, and that's how they have a physical effect on you. Like metaphysically, the digestion problems, shoulder and neck problems, headache problems, exhaustion, because you're fighting the whole time. Meditation is a great way, and it brings great relief. And hopefully you're able to sort of drop the overthinking mind. What I find is a lot of people kind of sit there, they're listening to their breathing, but they've still got the thoughts sort of coming in. They're still overthinking, and they're still really having difficulty dropping down into their body. What I teach you is to get your sense of self to drop down into your body so that you can actually find out what really is going on and just let everything go. And if you can get to the state where you have no judgments, no opinion, no expectations, your whole digestion system melts. That's the state it would be best for you to be thinking about eating in or having as your daily state. That's basically when you're in neutral. Think of a car stick. You're in gear 1, gear 2, gear 3, gear 4, gear 5 and gear 6 these days. So what gear are you in? You can gauge your stress like that if you want to. What stress state am I in? You know, even gear 1 going uphill is like you're pushing from the inside. You know what your body's doing. I'm just trying to get you very, very familiar with how your body is responding and the effect and what kind of physical symptoms it's going to bring you later on in the evening. Not to mention the emotional eating that you're going to go through because you've been emotional during the day. I try my best never to eat when I'm emotional. I try my best. I know for sure that when I was growing up or when I had the young kids, sitting at the table was an extremely stressful event for me. I've never actually pinned down exactly why it is the way it is. It just is the way it is. You know, parents were kind of like trying to work out their days or problems, and I just didn't like sitting down to dinner. And I also know that when I had the little boys, I could actually, when I was able to find my sense of self, when things were sort of kicking off on the table, spoons and plates and cups and milk and things were dropping all over the place, I was like, ooh. I should never have eaten at that particular time. You can see why families used to sort of eat at a separate time to the children, because I was just like a jack-in-the-box, up and down and up and down and up and down, and just getting more and more irritated. I should never ever eat when it's that kind of environment. It does not suit me at all. Certain people it works fine with, that they can still digest when in that. But I've done tests and I've done retreats with people, and even certain kind of music, even if it's a really emotional music, I can't operate. It's just my body just goes, no, I'm dealing with that. I'm not going to be able to deal with that. And that's when I used to sort of like shovel food in and be kind of like this automatic state when I really wanted to be in a more relaxed state. So I know now what that feels like in my belly. I'm like, oh, hang on a second. I'm not able to digest my food. I'm not even breathing properly. And I'm able to separate myself, find my sense of self and kind of go, okay, so what's going on here? Has it got anything to do with me? No, actually it's got nothing to do with me. I'm going to let that pass. I'm going to let that go. And that's the way I deal with it. So that's how I try not to eat whenever I'm emotional, because if I'm eating when I'm emotional, the food that I'm eating, it turns toxic and it turns into gas and it turns into bloated tummy and it turns into all sorts of irritable bowel and all sorts of digestion problems. So really it's not a good idea, even if you're not eating when you're like that and it's to do with an event of stress during the day. Your belly will tell you that it's not digesting today very well, and it'll be bloated and gassy, and that's what's in your undercurrent. So your digestion is purely there to show you that there is something else going on that you haven't triggered in, you haven't tapped into, to allow yourself to see what's going on. So meditation is great. So again, yeah, just imagine having no judgment and the feeling, and you've got no opinion of the events that are going through the day. That feeling is the best feeling to have in your body so that you're able to digest your food. I actually now ask my body, what does she want to eat? So for example, if I think, okay, I'm kind of hungry, I'm going to go in the kitchen, and maybe before I do, I'll just sort of say, what is it that you really want to eat? What is it that would really tickle your fancy today? What temperature, what texture, sweet, savoury, what vegetable, what would you like? Some days it's just like a smoothie, or I'd really like a boiled egg, or I'm not really hungry. No, which brings me to a story that I had a client in South Africa, and she told me that she had a chef, and she had, you know, the best things going on for her, and the chef was making food, and I said, do you like the food that the chef cooks for you? She said, no, to be honest, I don't. She said, I don't really eat very much. I feel I have to, so I do. I eat. Okay, so there's phase one that you can recognise already. She eats because she has to. And I said, so why aren't you hungry then? And then I got to know her, and then I got to know her situation. My God, her life was so full. She was keeping herself so busy. No wonder she had no room to put anything else in. And she gave herself away all the time. So, for example, if she's sitting down watching TV, she'd be ironing at the same time. And her family came in, her husband and her son, they'd just turn off whatever she was watching on the TV, and she'd have to wait. She'd go and get them some food or go and get them a drink and then come back. And I'm like, oh my God, have you seen what you've just done? You've given yourself away. Yeah, but I always do that. I'm fine with that. But her undercurrent was absolutely not fine with that at all. She had to find a way to sort of step up and put herself first and second and third. She was dealing with the emotions. What we lifted off her were, she was taking herself for granted, or she was being taken for granted. She was allowing herself to be taken for granted. So once we did the process and we went through that, afterwards she just was not able to sort of allow herself to be taken for granted. If she chose to do it because it made her happy, that was fine. But if she did it with a little bit of resentment, she was like, hang on a second. I was watching that. So she began to speak up for herself. We also lifted grief off her as well, because that was one of the main emotions that was running in her undercurrent. Hi, Emma. And so grief was working in her undercurrent. So when we lifted that off, her whole story changed as well. She was able to stand up for herself. She'd had to give a baby away when she was younger, and the grief was still eating away at her, even though she'd recontacted the child. The child wanted to see her, now a grown man, but his wife didn't. So there was a lot. The grief was really quite large for this particular lady. She had a lot of resentment, like I just said, about when her family came in and she was watching something and they turned the TV off. So she had a resentment about being taken for granted. So these were just three of the emotions that we lifted off her body, and we did the healing in the process. It really allowed her to have a much easier digestion. Her digestion really melted, and she was be able to stand up for herself and ask her children to sort of do things for her, and ask her husband to do things for her. She found out actually what she wanted, and she'd never actually really allowed herself to ask herself what she wanted. She'd always just said, okay, I'm here to serve. Very nice, but not if it's making you feel angry on the inside. That's going to have a huge effect on your emotional eating, and that's going to have a huge effect on the undercurrent and how your digestion is speaking to you and telling you, that doesn't work for me at all. So one of the other ladies that I've worked with, funny enough, very, very similar situation. She said to me afterwards, so it's kind of a testimonial, she said, I never knew how stressed I was. I never knew what kind of level of stress I was carrying in my body. I feel calmer, less angry and less resentful. And she described to me that her guts were so much easier. She didn't feel hit every single time somebody spoke to her or spoke to her in a certain tone, which is basically what was happening. She felt like she was being hit. Her stomach was basically in knots. She said to me after a while, she said, I actually now really know who I am and what I want and what I stand for. I've found myself, and I feel good in myself when I'm with others. I feel I'm like, yeah, I've got as much a place in this world as you and as much a place in this family as you. She really changed on a drastic scale. The way she dressed changed. The way she did things for herself changed. And with that, luckily, happily, to her great relief and surprise, because she had no real expectations of it, but her body changed. She had more energy and she was just lighter and brighter all round. And as she carried on doing those kind of things, she carried on doing the practices and going through the processes and lifting off the emotions, you could see that there was a massive change going on in her, and her body really did change. Another lady was saying to me, I know now when I'm stressed and when I'm troubled, because I can actually feel it in my stomach. And she goes on to say that she actually asks her body what the body wants to feel better. And do I want to go here or do I want to go there? What feels better for me? Okay, that doesn't really feel so good, so well, I'm going to go with this particular response. I'm going to go and do what feels better for my body today. And her body and her digestion just became again so relaxed, and she rarely suffered again with IBS. And if she did, she took that as a sign that there was just something not quite right. There was something that she wasn't listening to herself in that particular instance. Yeah, again, she recognised who she was. So the thing I want to do to you, with you today, with you today, is I want you to understand what your body feels like. And the best way to work that out is find out where you are on your stress level, even today. So like when I just ran to the post office, I had the choice of being stressed that it was shut and I couldn't get my home detox boxes in the post. It's peeing with rain, I'm going to have to go out again wet, and I'm just going to have to go all the way to that village or all the way to that village just to put something in the post. So that's a choice. I can either get stressed about that and get my knickers in a twist, or I can be relaxed. Okay, so one of the things I ask you to do is just imagine that you've got a scale in front of you, or your arms are a scale. And for me, my really, really relaxed place, my safe place, would be down on the left-hand side. So that would be me imagining myself going down, 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 down. Okay, relaxed. Feeling no judgment, feeling no expectation, feeling no opinions even. And my whole body just relaxes. All right, so bring yourself down wherever you are now. Just bring yourself down into your body. And the way you can do that is just very, very quickly, because I'm not going to go through the whole process with you. You can just concentrate on your breathing or concentrate on your heartbeat, and that brings you into bodily functions rather than mental thoughts. And if it gets too busy in your head still, you can weave your breathing through the beating of your heart, and that just, it kind of makes you think a little bit more about your breathing rather than what's going on in your head. So it brings you down into your body. So bring yourself down to a very, very relaxed place, your most relaxed place that you can possibly imagine. I also help ladies to feel safe in their bodies as well, because unless you feel safe, your body's always going to be looking to protect you in different ways. So bring your energy all the way down to safe, all the way down to relaxed as you can possibly imagine you could be. And the more you do this, the more practice you give this, the more relaxed your body will be. And just for a second, I'm going to ask you to walk yourself up to an event that you know is extremely stressful. I want you to find one of the events that's extremely stressful for you. So it could be a near miss in a car. It could be worried about your child. It could be losing your job. It could be losing a loved one. It could be moving countries. It could be having to do, it's normally having to do something that you're not expecting, that you're not wanting to do. So it's a stress, highly, highly stressed. So just walk up there and feel what happens inside your body. I want you to have a really stressed experience so that you really know the difference between feeling really relaxed and really stressed. See what happens inside your body. Walk up towards that stressed event, that event that just has you knickers in a twist and your guts all in a knot, and just find out what it feels like in your body so that you can recognize it again. So keep on walking up there, keep on getting closer and closer and closer to the event. Just feel what it feels like in your body. It's probably constricting, it's probably painful, you can feel it in your guts. All right, that's long enough for now. Bring yourself down, walk yourself down to your most relaxed place again. Just let it all go. Bring yourself back into no judgment, no opinion, no expectation. Ask yourself if you could just relax just a little bit more. Great. At any time, doing anything, just practice that. Just practice what it feels like to be in the position that you're in. So how stressed are you? Where are you on your stress scale? Because that will have such information for you. And even if you can't name what the stress or the emotion is that you're carrying, you're beginning to understand your sense of self. You're beginning to understand, this doesn't feel comfortable for me. I've normally let that ride. I've normally let that happen. And if you're ready, and if you're wanting to lift off some of these major emotions that are having a huge effect on your digestion and a huge effect on your stress levels, and that are making you carry around weight and carry around things that aren't necessary for you, for the rest of this week, I've got an offer on my 6 weeks of releasing as the biggest emotions and the biggest thoughts that you have going on that are having a huge effect on your body. Yeah, so that's what I'm offering. I'm offering you to have 6 weeks, intensive workshops, personal one-to-one workshops with me, where I walk you through this process that allows you to let go of that particular emotion that's having the biggest effect on you physically, the physical impact it's having, the physical symptoms that it's bringing up in your body, whether it's digestion, whether it's neck and shoulder aches. Sciatica was one of the ones for me. It even goes as deep as, like, I had ovarian cysts and I had abnormal smears and things like that. So those are the physical symptoms that those underlying emotions and feelings and stories that you're still telling will be having on you physically. So I'm going to put a link in the, I always forget the word. Anyway, I'm going to be putting a link in the description. That'll just help you understand how you can get hold of me. Contact me. Let's have a cup of tea. Let's have a cup of coffee over Skype like this. Very, very easy. Little conversation. Oh, it's gone cold. So that I can just help you see your one trigger. The one trigger that's got your digestion in knots, that's got your body holding on to things it doesn't need to hold on to anymore. That's called a body scan, and I'm very happy to do that for you. And so that's me over and out for today. I'll be back again tomorrow with just a little snippet and also just showing you how I keep my energy up, how I kind of reset and reprogram myself on a daily basis, how I release the emotions when they come up for me on a daily basis, and how I reconnect to my body on a daily basis. All these things are very important for you to sort of live a long and healthy life. And if you're going to go through the next 50 years, I'm hoping I live another 50 years, in a very, very good, healthy body, then those are the things that's how we create our body and our life on a conscious level. We understand what we're feeling, when we feel it. We're not fazed by it. We allow ourselves to be reprogrammed and upgraded regularly. And we allow ourselves to connect in with our body and find out what our body, who is our soul, we find out what she actually wants. What does she want to eat? Where does she want to go? What makes her feel good? If we're following what feels good, we can't go wrong. When we found our sense of self and we're following what feels good for us, it's just impossible to go wrong. You start looking younger, you start feeling fitter, you start having more energy, and just life becomes more fun. I think I spoke about it last week, about having an orgasmic life, and for me that's being able to go down to the beach and go swimming, and everything is just way more colourful. Way more colourful. Hello, Martin. Yeah, way more colourful. Anyway, that's me over and out. I'm going to love you and leave you, and I'm going to speak to you again soon. See you later. Bye-bye.